Okay, First Timothy chapter 5 is filled with all kinds of practical wisdom for Timothy as a young leader. He says, never speak harshly to an older man. He says, but instead appeal to him as respectfully as you would if he was your father. He says, talk to young men as you would your own brothers. Treat older women as you would your mother. Treat younger women with all purity as you would your own sisters. So just some really good, simple advice. And he continues then as you scroll. He says in verse 8, those who won't care for their relatives, especially those in their own household, have denied the true faith. Such people are worse than unbelievers. And so this gives us a little bit of a insight into how he viewed social justice, right? He said that you should take care of people in your own family. Don't look to the government to take care of them, that you should really, if you have the means and the ability, then care for the people in your family, in your household. As we scroll, he starts talking about widows. I'll let you read this for yourself, but in verse 14 he says, so I advise younger widows to marry again, to have children and take care of their own homes, and then the enemy will not be able to say anything against them. So as you read this, what he's saying is older widows should be supported by the giving of the church at large, but younger widows just get remarried. Interesting, as he shares some insights about that. Verse 17, he talks again about elders. He says, elders who do their work well should be respected and paid well, especially those who work hard at both preaching and teaching. In other words, this is potentially some scriptural basis for paid ministers, people who are paid by the giving of the local church so that they can do their job well, right? And so you can read that for yourself and maybe think about how that applies to your church. He says in verse 19, don't listen to an accusation against an elder unless it is confirmed by 2 or 3 witnesses. So maybe there were some problems with that in the early church. And as we scroll a little bit further, he talks about not being in a hurry to appoint church leaders, elders. He says, don't share in the sins of others, keep yourself pure. Now I want to scroll just to the last section here. This is so interesting. He said, remember the sins of some people are obvious, leading them to certain judgment. But there are others whose sins will not be revealed until later. And in the same way, the good deeds of some people are obvious, and the good deeds done in secret will someday come to light. It's almost like Paul ends this section here with his own proverb. And isn't that true? Think about it in your own life. And maybe he's thinking about this in the context of elders and leadership, is you do the best job that you can of choosing someone who is godly, but you don't ever really know someone's character or quality. You do the best you can to choose wisely. But at the end of the day, everyone's sins will find them out. And that's true not just for leaders, but that's true for every follower of Jesus, or really even people who don't follow Jesus. So you're ready to read 1 Timothy chapter 5. We'll see you tomorrow for the last chapter, chapter 6.